What's going on, YouTube world? Steve, Vinny, Dave. Insert Revolution podcast. We're on 79 this week. Do a little talking about hypotheticals, since that's always such a popular thing in videos. The what ifs and the wouldn't it be nice and dream scenarios. Let's have an actual dream scenario that makes sense instead of playing Microsoft Editor with cards. We can leave that for the children's table. So, simple discussion, I think. Everybody can have their own opinion, and again, literally, it wouldn't be wrong. Well, unless you want to have like Team Schmedium as like your leader, then you're an idiot. But and the man bun and the home ec clothes out there, and get those guys out. But anyway, soapbox retract. Early on, talk about our hobby landscape. It's not, as I said in the descriptor, it's not going to be, oh my God, I want to have prices of 10 years ago, prices of 20 years ago, prices of 30 years ago with the money we have now. That's just not something that's possible. Our hobby landscape's possibly not possible as well, but in the same breath, at least you, if you haven't figured it out, get a sort of insight to maybe some of the things we find important that you knew about, maybe some of the things you just didn't know about, things that make you go, So we'll discuss that, and it won't be ad nauseum, because again, it's not like a back-breaking, monumental discussion, but in the same vein, you see all the other videos and those dickheads out there. The hobby negativity's got to stop. Well, shut the fuck up. None of you idiots are going to do anything about it. You just keep talking about it, so it's going to continue since everybody else see, well, that guy said it. I got to make a video and tell my opinion, too. Go away, weatherman from fucking Family Guy. You're an idiot. It's something that's fun to think of and not in the way of dreaming of like, oh, I want a Lemieux auto that's a booklet, and man, if I only knew a Lemieux collector, and if we could have like Gretzky and Howe and Vezina on there, how fun would that be? What a fun card to create. Wouldn't that be fun? Fun and fun. Oh man.
And super expensive.
No, but what if Panini did it and they came back? How fucking awesome would that be?
Still be expensive.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. That'd be totally tubular, dude.
I don't know anything about hockey people, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Fuck you don't.
Who's this Vezina guy? What? I thought that was just a trophy. I thought that was just a trophy. That's actually named after somebody?
That's the beer man in Detroit.
Yeah, I had no idea that any of those were named after people. I mean, geez, that's a thing. Wow.
I know. I don't even. It's wild to think that actually exists. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought football was the only ones who actually did that. Actually named trophies after people. Didn't know that was a thing. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
You're forgiven.
Well, glad I'm forgiven. On the other hand, am I really?
For the time being, anyway.
Okay.
I'll forgive
you. Yeah, the night's still early, right?
Yeah.
Did you make it to the post office yet?
I did. What, yesterday? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it still sits in the front seat of the car with like 4 other packages on it, which includes a and I want to listen to it, and all I have to do is open it and then put it in the CD player, but it's off from Smash, the first CD. I was looking at the greatest hits. I'm like, yeah, I should get that, but that's about $6-8 more. And like this one, I know there's like 2 or 3 songs on there I really like. So like with the Smashing Pumpkins, I've just been listening to that over and over the first disc, and I'll eventually get to the second disc because it was.
Should I put him in timeout briefly?
I'll wait for his special comment he loves to make go so often.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. When they came in and stuff, I was sitting there. I had a box that I'd gotten other stuff in,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting there going, "Okay, you got to freaking play Tetris. You got to figure out how to get all these in here," because I didn't want to have to go to a large priority mailbox. Not that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't keep them.
Yeah.
I keep small and medium because normally I don't ship anything in a large priority mailbox. So I sat there and I finagled it for a while. I'm like, please, 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 come on, man, you got to figure this shit out. And I was able to make it work. So it's crammed full, and it's not bulging on any of the sides. I mean, everything folded up nicely and everything else. But I was like, crap, please, 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 I do not want to have to order from the post office. I mean, they're free. It's not that big of a deal, but I didn't want to have to wait a week to get them because you doing the for sale videos and everything else, you were going to need them. So I didn't want to, put it off. And I was just thankful I was able to get them all in the same box. So.
Yeah, so probably I'll do it tomorrow because again, we went over. I don't know, sort of all over the place today after picking up Naomi for school. She went over with her friends yesterday, which is like that's fine. I went to Gilbert since I didn't see Trista over the weekend because of the tournament and all the hullabaloo there. So went there instead, which was nice. We watched Riff Tracks, the Birdemic, and then Replica, which are just they're abysmal. But I mean, there's so many parts in there where you're just literally busting your gut because of like the lines, and then the lines that the guys like the ones from Mystery Science have for the Riff Tracks crew, or as part of the Riff Tracks crew, and then so she came over today. I think I was watching more tornado videos. Yeah. And then I think we got into the basketball. I gave her a little reprieve, and then finally we were just watching, like, I think Kentucky, Iowa from last year's women's tournament. And again, without the fans there for the COVID times, it's like I'm not vested into like the Ely High School gym being full of like 100 people clapping. Like, no, I need to hear just a raucous crowd. So we watched, I don't know, probably the first quarter and a half of that. I said, "You want to watch the first game from the tournament?" And she always gets I don't really want to. It's like, you're not going to get better by not seeing your mistakes. Again, I always preface it with everyone else is making these same mistakes. The quicker you guys clean up yours, the better chance you have to be in these games. So I think we're about 2/3 of the way done with it. Said you need to start barking out orders. I don't care if you're not making friends out there. Once these girls see, hey, once the girls see, hey,
Oh wait. Bum, 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 bum.
Go do your homework.
Thank you. Fractions, like Christmas fractions.
Dun,
And it's already too early for this garbage, but whatever. Bye-bye.
So we watch that, and again, it's like here's your team. You could have had, I don't know, 16 points, 18 points that were gimmies, and were gimmies. I'm like within 10 feet. If nothing else, drive. You get fouled, go to the line. I said, but then the other team, they had some of those too because you guys aren't rebounding. I don't want to hear the, oh, we're taller, they're taller, they got height. They're not putting the ball right back up.
Show her videos of Muggsy Bogues, and then that's no longer an excuse.
Well, we watched some of the 87, 88. So I was looking for it, and I'm like, oh, it's not on. And I've got ESPN Plus, but I don't want to fiddle around with the phone, try to sync it up, and hope that if the phone, I turn the screen off, it still continue to sync. The 30 for 30, the bad boys. I'm like, this is how you rebound. I'm like, the first weekend, it was like, oh, don't do anything bad because you're representing your community. The coach said that to them. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about that, but.
Okay, hold on, wait a minute. That is left open way too much for interpretation. And at her age, that could mean so many different things. I mean, as adults, that can mean so many things, let alone.
Believe me,
I get the representing. I understand it, but there's a difference between doing something bad and hustling, playing hard.
I said you're not going to kick him in your privates, or you're going to elbow him in the face and cut him open. I said, but you can't sit there and let them elbow you in the stomach or elbow you in the ribs and push you around, because you have to represent yourself as a person first. That's who you worry about. Then you worry about your teammates. Then you worry about the coach. Because again, you're playing for the coach, no matter how bad they are. And then like 24th, 35th, somewhere down the line, the town. Because guess what? If you do something that the town thinks is bad, they're going to turn their back on you like that. They don't give a shit what you've done. It's what you just did. So I said, you gotta play for yourself first and foremost. If you're not doing good by you, you're not living up to your standards. That's where you got to look at it. Doesn't matter about the fucking name on the front. It's the rare time you have to do what's best for the name on the back. You have to play balls out because of how you've been taught by whoever teaches you. So yeah, it was. We watched that first half, and I said, "There's a one girl there that she was getting low, boxing out, just like." And I said, "You can't keep your elbows pinned against your body. Does no good." I said, "You look at her. She's not digging into you, but she's getting her elbow out so that it's going to be uncomfortable for you. Do the same." I said, "You can do that, and you can also start stiffening make a fist. Then when she comes into you, as she's coming into you, you go towards her. It's not cheap. It's part of the process of playing underneath. It's
Yeah, you don't freaking do one of these things. I mean, there's a right way and a wrong way.
Don't be Kevin Nash in the corner and you're back elbowing and then get ready for a snake eyes on the turnbuckle. No, you get her under the pits. Get her right in that side, and if she starts complaining, be like, you brought this upon yourself. You want to play this way, this is how we're going to be. So, for me, it's not frustrating yet. But at the same time, I keep saying you have to watch basketball more than when you're with me.
Yeah, but that's where you're going to have the tough time
Oh, I know.
because
I know that. But I'm just
because as we know, mom has no interest, so therefore there's no added push.
no.
So, and that's the unfortunate side, especially if Naomi wants to continue to play sports and everything else. You know, you got to have the two-way type situation where yes, you help, you guide, you help train, you give them, tools and so on and so forth. But you can only do so much. So and that makes for tough situations, unfortunately.
Yeah, because again, I don't mind watching basketball. But that's what I did as a kid. That's what I played. I keep telling her, I'm like, we had open gym for 3 hours on a Saturday night or a Saturday afternoon. My buddy'd come over to our house, shoot ball until 6:30, and his parents would pick him up. Then I'd shoot until it was dark. So we didn't have a light in the garage, but so like when the light went out, you went in. But I'm like, I was out there a lot. I don't tell you all this stuff because I want to hear myself talk. If I wanted to do that, I'd look at all my videos. I do it there. I say, I tell you this, and then when you don't do it, that's when you start noticing frustration. Because it's not just me telling you once, it's me telling you about 24 times. Get your hands up, get under it, and get that rebound. You don't sit there and watch the ball. Again, what's this long soliloquy? No, I'm saying how to be physical underneath. Go watch some videos, Eric, and you'll see her. She's not physical whatsoever. It's like the absolute opposite end of the bad boy spectrum. You get in there, be physical, the ball's yours. Not, oh, if it comes to me, I'm happy. No. Go get it. I'm not saying go in there with like a lawnmower, you're doing like the Simpsons, like I'm gonna start kicking and punching and whoever gets in the way, well, oh well. No, you've got to use some not so clean tactics. I'm not saying devious and underhanded and vile. I'm saying you if you're underneath, you're not playing like, oh, I tapped you. Oh, I'm sorry. My sincerest apologies. If it was me, perhaps, but that's what all the cards are for. That's like a bail bond ticket right there.
Yeah, that's not even a small portion of warehouse number one.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
so. Yeah, it's fun. I like doing it. After the game, my mom's like, "You're more of the coach out there for the 3 games." I was like, "Well, maybe for 2 and 3, I was yelling more than one, but it's they need a voice that they can hear, especially when you got 3 gyms going, a lot of ladies talking, a lot of squawking. It's like, what? When they're like, hey, hey, and everybody's like, hey, hey, and like, hey, hey, nobody knows what's going on. So then you just yell out, hey, and then go, hey.
One person says gabagool. I'm leaving this thing. Hey, the gabagool. Sorry, I digress.
So you don't think you have to worry about that?
Oh, I got flashbacks with the.
Oh, pull my clothes. It is done.
remember your pressure points.
The short bus superstars. So that last game was fun. It's a matter instead of making those shots. You have to make those shots from inside 10 feet. You had too many of them. I think she had one shot right away in the first game. I said, here's what, and we went through it. I paused it on the TV, and I'm trying to be a coach out there. I'm like, you've got the direct line to the hoop. The girl that's guarding you or looking at guarding you or looking to try to stop you is positioned like she's running at you. And you're going this way. So you take 2 more steps, there's your layup drill. I'm like, that it's a good shot, but it could have been a really good shot. Take those 2 dribbles and bank it off and make the basket. And then she had one underneath too where she got it and she's like, I got nervous. I'm like, don't fucking get nervous. Stop it.
That's hard though. Hey, that's hard though.
Out there. Don't worry. If you get hit, good. That means you are in a position to make a basket. That's what you want. You don't want to be hit at half court because that means somebody's stupid and running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Well, I was trying to, and she wasn't really paying too much attention. Again, it's older basketball, and like, look, Michael Jordan. She's like, oh. I'm like, hey, number 32 for the Celtics is from Hibbing. That's like an hour away. Oh.
That's an age thing, though, Dave. I hate that.
I'm just like, ah. Like, this is to teach you since you don't want to listen. Even though
just wait.
Oh, I know. It's me. It's me in the female version, so that's not a...
No. Just wait.
And I know it'll be amplified many a time.
Wait until them teenage years sink in, man.
They're fun.
Says who?
Everyone.
Says no one?
Yeah, it was. We went between. It was like the commons area when you enter the sports area, and then there was like a little hallway. It must have been to like the actual school part. I've never been to this Grand Rapids school. Alex Goligoski's high school.
Go.
And so I'm looking for a phone charger because, again, there's 3 games. I'm at like 60, 55%. I'm like, I know the next one's going to get me down to 20. I don't want to be at like under 5% nearing the end of a game. Did it the same thing at the last weekend. And so we're down there, and I'm John Wooden coaching her up. Her awesome teammates are like, I'm listening. I'm like, it sounds like Young Jock. It's going down. I'm like, 2006 they're playing. So I don't know. Again, I'm not on TikTok. I don't give a shit about that. I don't know if that's something now that's on there or what, but they're all trying to do that dance. And I'm like, telling her, I'm like, this is the problem. We're here to fucking play basketball. I don't give 2 fucks about what, and I'm being rather loud by now because I'm like annoyed. I'm like, you're losing 30-4. If I was your coach, you wouldn't have a cell phone. It would be broken. Like, you're here to play basketball, not fuck around with TikTok, Snapchat, whatever the fuck it's on right now. And I said, that's where you've got to start chirping a little bit. Say, hey, we're here to play basketball. You remember the score? Remember the scores from last weekend? It looks like we're potatoes out there. We got to start doing something a little different. Be like, hey, stop dribbling with your eyes or your head down.
I remember 17 twice. I got one more to hit that age. Heaven help me.
Yeah, I dealt with the teenage boy. Just throwing that out there.
I dealt with the daughters with the teenage boys. Try that one.
Touche.
Check and mate.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
just wish I wish my brother, when he was in like, I think it's 8th grade, I went to one of his games. It was I came home from college, and it was the playoffs, and they're just fouling our top player just every 3 seconds. Every time he goes to shoot, they're fouling. Nothing's getting called. Nothing's getting called. I said, oh, here it comes. My brother, who's the tallest at the time, he's 5'11". He only grew like an inch and a half after that. But he was like 5'11" in 8th grade. He was their center because he could jump. So I could see him going, and the coach just grabbed his jersey and looked at him. I said, oh, this is not going to end well for that dude. So he gets in, and they throw in the ball, and the guy tries to foul him. Well, my brother just lays him out. Just lays him out on the ground. And he's looking at him. My brother looks at him and goes, I got one more. He threw the technical, and he looked at that guy. I got one more. And that guy, the whole rest of the game, but every time my brother just smiled at him, he just shook. It was awesome. They won, I think, 42-40. And we won it in overtime. And then they lost the next round when I went back to school. But I just remembered how physical back then they would be. Because if they weren't calling something, my brother's job was to fear this, the fear of God in that person causing the ruckus. And it happened to be their best shooter. So they were up, and the rest of the game, he was hitting the rim, because it shook him. He got in his head. Brother didn't get a foul after that because he knew. And then my brother was he had 4 points and 10 rebounds. So that's what his job was: rebound the ball and then strike fear into the hearts of men. And it was different back then. It was a different kind of basketball. They played defense. So it was quite fantastic. I digress. She'll get it. Cease is getting there too. But that other stuff, like you said, is uncalled for. Like when they're at practice, I see C going to him now. Are we here to play soccer, or are we here to dance, twirl, and screw around? Because I'm tired of getting shot at 30 times a game.
But when I'm there, I destroy everybody.
That's right. Got it fired up.
I didn't have that problem.
No, you had what they call defense.
Even when I was an assistant coach for when Scott played soccer. It was, at that age, they you're trying to teach them concepts and certain drills and certain things along those lines, but the only distractions that you ended up really ever having, police car flying down the road, or it's squirrel. But there was no other distractions. I mean, they sat there and they listened to you as the coach.
I'll tell you what. The new one we got, she's fabulous. I like her. She's disciplined. She's like, are you here to play soccer, or are you here to screw around? And if you screw around, you don't start.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Also, from your perspective, they pay to play. And, even when you played recreational league, you still paid something. It was minor compared to if you were select or classic or, something along those lines. So the club leagues. But even at the rec league, you still had to pay. Like I said, it was minimal. And of course, cleats, shin guards, your uniform, all this other kind of crap. But
goalie gloves.
Those actually came from the coach. I never bought goalie gloves. The coach actually supplied those to us, as he did the jerseys and everything else. So, at least the goalie jersey, that is. And for the longest time, I didn't wear gloves. So that ought to tell you something. These right here, these right here were my best friends. Screw having to hit your hands, man, fisting the crap out of that ball. But when you the other issue, like from your perspective, Vinny, and I know you can still hear me even though you're not on video. These parents are paying substantial amounts of money for these kids to play.
Mhm.
And yet the parents are sitting there allowing that shit to take place. So part of the problem is the parents. I don't know about y'all, but I don't have, excess amounts of cash to basically be, in essence, taking it outside, letting the wind blow it out of my hands to let my kids play sports, and yet they're not putting forth 100% of the effort.
I think a lot of that changed. Like I said, new coach, discipline, structured, position teaching right off the bat. And now the last game, I think she saw the last game was rough. She saw over 20 shots, but the game before, when she had the shutout, she saw 16, which still isn't bad. It's futsal. You're going to see more. No, 26 at futsal and had a shutout. But futsal, you average 30 shots a game because it's way high pressed. It's 5-on-5. The court's smaller and the ball moves. There's a lot of shots on goal. So when you face 30, now if you're facing 60 shots in futsal, then there's a problem. But on turf, you should be seeing 7, maybe 8 at that age on the other games I've watched. So,
well, as I've told you in multiple conversations, very rarely did I face more than like 5 or 6 shots a game. Very rarely. And there were times in which I may face 20, 25 shots for an entire weekend tournament.
Mhm.
And that's, 6 games, 7 games, depending on however they have the bracket set up. And it blows my mind, sitting there having conversations with Vinny while he's there having her play and, freaking 16 to 20. And I'm going, what? How in the world did she face 20 shots? I mean, my team was good, but even from that perspective, I don't think we had many games where we were putting 20 shots on goal.
58 shots in a game and a half in a tournament. She stopped 86% of the shots. So out of 58 shots, 86, I just remember that number in my head. So, and I remember them taking her out, and then the next goalie only faced like 12 shots, and they didn't realize, like, I'm sitting there and they're like, you did so much better in the second half. I'm like, they put their defense on offense. Did you catch that? Oh, I didn't realize.
But it's it's no different though, sitting there collecting people and not watching the games. It's the same type of mindset. It's the same sort of philosophy. It is what it is. There's only so much we as parents can do. The only other option is, Vinny, I know you've learned a lot about soccer, but you're far from being a soccer coach, so it's not one in which you can sit there and take over the reins.
I just leave it to the boys to handle, and the lady. She's awesome, like I said.
Dave, I know you coached football. I know you played basketball, so you played enough of it to where maybe your only option is to step up and become a coach. But that makes things even that much more complex for you.
Yep.
Because it's like, okay, practice is at 5:00 and it ends at 6:30. because I had to go home and go to bed so I could be up at 3 o'clock the next morning and go to work.
And I said too, we're in the process of them adding something to the school. It's going to be like a new office, a new cafeteria / commons area, and another gym. And I said they need gym time. It's desperate. You don't have anything around this. No YMCA. There's no rec club. There's no anything. They've got the gym here, and then there's like a side gym that, again, if you've got varsity boys playing, you got varsity girls practicing, whatever, there's your time. I said, I'll go out there and volunteer time. I don't care if Naomi's the only one that's there. I don't want their, and that's what I did with the weight room when I was coaching 8th and 9th grade football. I said, I'm tired of hearing the same, nobody's in the weight room. Nobody's there, so we can't go there. I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the times that we're going to have it open. If enough of you get a hold of me and you want to go before school, it'll be at 6 o'clock. If you need a ride, let me know the night before so I can come pick you guys up. Because again, there was a group of about 5, 6 of them that are like super dedicated to it. And I'm like, if that's all there is, that's fine. I'll be there and help those 5 or 6 kids that, hey, I don't know if this is stuff they want to do the weights because they want to get away from home life, or they just want to get better. I don't care. I'm like, I'm going to be there for them. They want that. There's not going to be the excuse or the reason, well, nobody was around or nobody wanted to open up the weight room. So 6 in the morning, that was maybe a couple times a week, maybe once. It wasn't a lot. And then what it would have been, it was like, because again, it would have been, I got done with work then about 3:34. So I'm like, I want to go home, change, get something to eat. Then I'll, like 6:30 between there. And then we'll go probably till 8 if you guys want. If people dip out, 7:30. And so you'd have people in there like 6:15 and gotta do the bench, gotta do the squats and like the clean and jerk and then a couple other things. It's like, you gotta do those piddle and crap ones. I got beefy. And then I got lardy. I got melted candle for my stomach. So I don't mind doing it, but again, I don't want to. I don't want, and it sounds semi-selfish, but at the same time, I want to have some time for myself. If I don't, I've said it many a time before. If I don't get time for myself to decompress, I am an absolute demon. I don't answer texts. I don't fucking answer calls. I don't want to do anything. I will put on the tornado videos that I've watched more times than Team Schmedium. One of them's like 6 hours, one's 8 hours. I've watched them probably 5 times each, all the way through. I know what happens. But that stuff there is my, what is it, the ASMR, whatever, crypto grift when I take the Lake Superior videos. He's always saying something like the nice background noise, stuff that's real soothing and sort of helps you, or puts you at ease. So that's mine. I literally don't have to think. I know, even if I watch new stuff, it's all stuff that's real therapeutic for me. If I don't get my alone time, my me time, when you work in retail and you're like Bob Saget, you wear many hats, you need to have some sort of decompression time because you're always inundated. And I'd go there for a couple hours probably to open the thing up, but I wouldn't. You start asking to be coaches. I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with school boards and schools and all this other shit, which I just don't care about because parents are dickheads and they think their kids are the best and they're fucking idiots that can't Velcro shoes right. And I'd be barking a lot. And you get people that aren't used to somebody correcting them. I won't even say criticizing, but they're correcting them. And so you just keep going along and you're doing a good job, Janie. Well, no, you've dribbled the ball off your foot 4 times. You've dribbled it off your knees 3 times. Twice when it was past you, it hit you in the head because you weren't looking. That's 9 times that you've made errors. That's not good tries. Those are you're dumb and you shouldn't be on the basketball court. Or start paying attention and figure it out. Because I can't make a clay bowl out of a concrete cinder block. That was why I got out of the coaching of football. You start getting the parents chirping. Why isn't my kid playing more? Well, they don't know the plays. They're not coming in putting the time in for at the weight room. Well, he was at this camp. I'm like, yeah. Just because you pay $200, $300, $400, $500 or whatever it is for a week-long camp, that doesn't mean you're an all-star. Because you get a cool jersey with whatever player or coach was there, that doesn't mean you're going to the Pro Bowl. It's like Tootie. It's the fact of life. But the parents don't see it that way. A lot of them don't, and that's what's shitty. That's what keeps a lot of good coaches away from coaching. They don't want to fucking deal with stupidity, and then somebody gives the disgruntled parent their cell number, their home number, and it's like, no, you don't need to butt in. If you wanted to butt in, sign up to coach. That's what you need to do. Nobody wants your opinion. It's a taco night asshole. It's shitty, full of corn, and sucks. Stinks like fucking dog shit. Just be quiet. You don't want to put the time into coach. Keep your opinion to yourself. So that's why I don't want to coach. I'll coach her. I'll coach her on the sideline. I told the coach that's going to be coaching her next year. So you don't need to pussyfoot with her. You don't need to walk on eggshells. If she's hearing a lot of this from me, you're going to be good. You can go after her a little bit and she'll take it. And I've told her, I said, the next step up is not everybody gets a fucking participation trophy and a ribbon and a medal and pats in the back and a dilly bar and fucking ice cream cone. No, I know. I'm glad you're sitting down, Steve. I was nervous that you're going to spit your libation and the sponsor for the night. The sponsor for the night, Yingling, all over the laptop and ruin your fine piece of computer equipment, but you held it together.
That would only occur in the event that I wasn't expecting a certain comment and it was quite funny. That wasn't humorous. That wasn't funny. It was, oh my goodness gracious! I can't believe that Dave thinks that way. How is that even a thing? But such is life, and such is the way things are these days. I think there was there was one big tournament that we joined all the time, and I think it was called Gunners. It was in Duncanville or Mesquite, Garland, somewhere, wherever the hell it was. But a drive from where we lived in Carrollton at the time. I mean, it was, over an hour drive. But because it was an annual tournament, and they did in fact give like participation trophies, but that's because to play in the tournament was an invite. You had to be invited to play in the tournament. So it's not like you just put your name down and said, yeah, my team wants to be a part of said tournament. You had to be invited. And it brought in teams from, all of like the north, I'll call it the DFW area. So Mesquite, Garland, Duncanville, Carrollton, Farmersburg. I mean, all over that region. But because it was an invite only, they weren't. And the fact of most people, it was like not a hop, skip, and a jump to get there by any stretch of the imagination. And it was Saturday and Sunday. They did give participation trophies. But that's because that's the way that the tournament organizers did it. Any other tournament that we went and played in or whatnot, if you didn't place in the top 3, you didn't get shit.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a 4th place, a 5th place. No. If you didn't finish 1 through 3, you didn't get squat. Same difference in the normal city leagues. If you didn't place 1, 2, 3, you didn't get squat. You got nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's the way it was.
It should be.
Agreed. Soapbox extend, Vinny.
Thanks for playing. That's what it comes down to.
I would say, before Vinny jumps in, I'd say if you have, like, okay, a board, if your local board, if that's what it's under, these people that invite the teams, let's say there's 3 people or whatever, hey, this kid on this team really showed a lot of hustle in the games. You give an award for that, the hustle award, like something like where you actually go out there, the sharpshooter. You get 3, 4, like the mauler, somebody that's getting a lot of rebounds doing the dirty work. Whatever it is, I if you actually earn that award, not, hey, you dribbled the ball, but then you dribbled it off your foot, but you dribbled it once in the court, here you go. You're the John Stockton. I'm like, what? No. Pistol Pete Award. Whoa, what? Vinny, as you were.
I have to say they've been pretty good for soccer. Yeah, you either finish first or you don't get squat. A lot of times what they'll do, what I kind of do like, is they'll give you, and they'll even say commemorative medal, and it's just a medal or like a badge or a regular medal that you participated. You were there. But it's nothing. It like says on there, you were here, you didn't do anything. Which is I kind of dig that because it's cool for a memory. Like you were there, but they won. The only one they won was the Canton Cup. It was 3 years ago. And 1 year they got to the last game and they lost in overtime. That's when C got blasted in the head. She came and hit her head off the crossbar, making a dive and save. And he would not let her back in the game to play. And they scored in a shootout. They played overtime. Then they went 7 into the shootout, and we gave up the goal. And she wanted back in, and he even said, "Just let me shoot," because she has a leg on her. She's diverse. She can play multiple positions if she wanted to. It's just that her footwork for position playing isn't as good as the other ones because she's a goalie. But what she's learning now is all the goalie coaches are like, we're going to make your feet as good as any forward, defense player, whatever. We're going to show you how all those positions played and give you the footwork they use so you know how all that operates in front of you. and you standing back there, you're the one that sees everything on that field. You direct that field. So that's her goalie coaches. I can't say enough about. They've been Keith and Blake. They've been awesome. So really getting her head. You have to be a little out there to be goalie anyhow. So she fits right in. Takes after her dad.
What are you trying to imply, Vinny?
That I'm a little goofy, and so is she. Right, C? That's right. Oh, you do. You ain't playing with a full deck up there, so stop.
Says who?
The friends that love you the most. Potato, potato. I know.
Tomato, tomato. Since you always go that route, I figured I'd throw in the other. Why not?
Sure.
Starting to sound like my wife, Eddie. Sure. Oh, wait, that's me. I'm the one who always says sure.
I was gonna say, I for sure don't say sure.
I'm for sure I don't say sure. You just did.
Not in the context you used it.
Yeah, but you just used it without realizing that you used it.
For sure is different than saying sure. They're two different contexts, so it's not the same thing. Go back to your podcast, Bush.
Go back to your stupid game you played. Anyways, Dave.
Topic us, Dave. Topic us.
Hobby landscape. A lot of times,
See,
It
you
ends
almost done eating?
when
Sorry,
I'm-
wrong button.
Yeah, you think? Good one, Vinny. Good one. We were waiting
Hey,
for that to happen.
I had to check if she was done eating.
yeah,
I
we
know.
we picked it up.
We got that.
Yeah. Thanks, Captain Obvious. Still struggling. Some of the time, most of the time, it's what we make. It's not a portion of the time. It's how others interject their uh, thoughts, their beliefs, maybe some of the stuff they've watched. Sharing that with you, even though you don't want to watch Team Schmedium, Home Ec Close, the short with superstars.
We know somebody does.
I'm getting better.
I've heard that before too.
I'm trying.
I've heard that too.
I really am this time.
Heard that
I've
too.
heard that too. Yeah, you
It
just might.
hasn't been as bad. I will say it's been first couple of months. That's not at least the first month was fairly good. Now the last month, you sort of there's moments of trepidation, but again, at least.
But it's only March though, Dave. We still
I
have
don't-
9 months to go. We still have 9 months to go.
Well, basically 10 since we're March 1st.
Yes, well, yes, this is true. So, anybody want to take the over under on when
I'd take the
Vinny's going to
over.
crack? When Vinny's going to crack? When he's going to crack? Anybody? Anybody?
I'll say like by the expo. Was it next month in Edmonton? If they get it, if the truckers are not blocking the roads up there. I don't know. I think it's at Edmonton, like April sometime, and then one in June.
June.
So I think if I had to bet and I had to place a time frame, it'd be that time frame between April and like the beginning of June. That's going to be because again, I think there's some show at some point this weekend, last weekend, where they had the human centipede.
Ultra Collision was last week. Dallas is this week.
So, and there was a show in Duluth last week I didn't even go to.
Then the Dell should be coming up soon.
Westdells.
You told me to call it the Dells, so that's what I call it.
I know.
I'm using proper vernacular and nomenclature.
I'm gonna say at least somebody will. But seeing a lot of those folks where they're just nothing, they got nothing to say. It's like they got a fishbowl and they're just picking somebody picked a topic, it's going to the next guy, they picked the topic, but the other guy put theirs back in. And they seem to be picking the same 3 or 4 topics, so, and they have no fucking earthly idea of what they're talking about, because when you've been in the hobby for less than 2 years, 3 years, you don't have a clue about anything. You don't have a clue about the history of it, not only hobby-wise, but internet-wise, how forums, and it morphed over to YouTube, and it morphs over to like the Instagram, Twitter, whatever TikTok stuff you use now, plus forums, plus YouTube, plus conventions and card shows and all the other BS.
But even from a different perspective, though, Dave, even with as long as what the three of us have collected for, I know we've chit chatted about this before, but combined hobby, quote unquote, experience with the three of us, we're talking about probably 100 years or damn near close to it. And we still end up learning stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because the hobby is so vast that there's outside of Bobby, Bobby's, when it comes to his historian stuff, Bobby knows his shit. I will give him credit where credit is due when it comes to that. But for the most part, no matter how long you've been a collector or a dealer or owned a shop, you still don't know everything. And you're never going to know everything.
No.
Because, it's not possible. You can spend, hours a day for the next 20 years and still freaking find stuff to learn. I mean, that's the one enjoyment of the hobby is the fact that you still have opportunities to learn, whether it be through your own research or through conversation or friendships and things along those lines too.
Mm-hmm.
It amazes me the lack of people's initiative to take the time and, do the research, actually try and learn something, try and give some sort of knowledge, some tidbit of knowledge, as you always talk about, Dave, instead of regurgitating stuff that other people have said time in and time out. And basically you bring in stuff to the table that you got from somebody else as if you knew that, or that was, and at least from my perspective, I can sit there and say everything that I've said, either A, I've given credit to who I've heard it from, or B, it's something that I've said without hearing it somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I know Vinny's the same way. I know you're the same way. When we've pulled tidbits from Carlos's show, we've given Carlos the credit in regards to, what he's discussed or brought up, or, it just regurgitating what everybody else says, really, what purpose does it serve? And it ties in with the whole hobby landscape. Our ideal hobby landscape is the fact that I would love for that to just disappear. I would rather go back to a time to where it wasn't always about the flip or always about the money.
Mm-hmm.
the YouTube channels and the monetization. Not that I'm saying it's a bad thing, but when that's your focal point of the monetization of your channel, then, there's only a small handful of people out there that I can sit there and be like, okay, I get it. They're not pumping crap down your throat either, and do this, do that. Yes, I know we always close, join the Discord and everything else and send us money. Everybody understands what the whole purpose of that is. It's a jab on all the other people that's all they focus on. What have you done for me lately? And the only way that they continue to to do more is by you giving them more money. If that was the case for us, IRP would have been gone quite some time ago. I mean, there wouldn't be an IRP anymore.
No.
But from the hobby, and like I said, this is just my opinion. Others may agree, others may disagree. But if that's the one thing, and I have others, but if that's the one thing, if I only had one choice to change the hobby landscape, is to get rid of that altogether. Because I go back and I always think about, Dave, when you and I first joined, and the interactions, and yes, we had breakers, and yes, we had what we would call pillars of the community. Those were at the upper echelon, the 800, 900, 1,000, 1,200, those type of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
We've always said there was drama back in those days. Drama is never going to go away.
No.
Bad people are they're always going to be around. You're going to have scam artists. You're going to have people taking advantage of individuals. You're going to have a lot of that dynamic, no matter how fresh, how blown up the hobby is. It happened when it was down. When we first started, there wasn't much going on. Card values were minuscule, but you were starting to see some upticks in some stuff. Jordan really started, the 90s Jordan insert started to spike a little bit. Certain things did at that point in time. But, you didn't have to be part of the group in order to feel like you were part of the group.
Yep.
You could go hang out with the top dogs in the breaking world and still have a conversation. And they may not know you by your first name, but they knew you by your screen name because you were usually there. Or yes, you bought into their breaks. But buying into their breaks did not give you any higher stature in their world than somebody who was just there watching or wanting to hang out, see what was pulled. Now it's you have, I don't even know what you want to call them. Are they like your super cliques? You have people. Here's your upper echelon, and then there's the same clique that kind of resides within that upper echelon. They're all the same people. And then heaven forbid somebody like Vinny or me or you try and step foot into that to engage in conversation. Whether we like the people or not is irrelevant. I'm only speaking for myself. I try to be nice unless it's time to not be nice.
Me too.
But it's one of those in which it's so jacked up to where it's like you have them and then there's everybody else. And in my honest opinion, that becomes an ultimate detriment to the hobby landscape as a whole. Because you have too many people focusing on this, and you end up losing sight on all the other aspects of the hobby. The friendships, outside of what have you done for me lately and how much money did you spend? That's not a friendship. That's a business transaction. That's a business deal. That's all that is. I shouldn't have to, spend $1,000 with Dave and, hope that Dave and I are buddy. No bullshit. We help each other out when we can because we know what the whole objective is for the individual who's trying to move stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be picking up stuff for your PC, picking up stuff for other people. It's one of those in which, Dave, your for sale videos, if it's not something for you and you're wanting to have some excess funds to pick up shit to send to people, why would I fault you for that? What's going on, Paul? Because it just keeps things flowing. That part of the whole hobby landscape it drives me nuts because I've never understood it. I've never understood it. And I would love for that to change. Soapbox retract. Vinny, obviously you had something to say.
If you are someone in this whole card community and you hear someone say the other influencers and I, which you are bringing yourself in to be called an influencer, content creator, yeah, okay. But when you call yourself an influencer, shouldn't that be the major sign for someone watching said person to say, I wonder if they got my best intentions in mind? I wonder. I'm not sure. Because usually people influence for some for the greater good, others not so much. And when money's involved, it's usually for that. So that's when I don't ever want to be, nor I think any of us ever want to be called an influencer. Do your thing. Collect what you want, flip what you want, buy and resell what you want. It's your bag. It's whatever you want to do. But when you call yourself or you group yourself in a group that's called influential people, it's anything else. They're pushing. They always say pushing their brand. You hear the media talk about it. It's like they bought $1 million worth of this because all of a sudden this person was the spokesperson. Just because those people were the spokesperson, they bought it. Does that mean it's good for you? I don't know so much about that. If I was sitting on a ton of Luca cards and I'm going to push that as much as I can push it, if that's my bag, and try to sell as many as I can if I'm trying to make money.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's like I said, that's the one thing that bothers me is think for yourself. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, go look in a mirror. That's a person that should influence you. Your friends should help you make those decisions. Like I'll shoot over to you guys questions about something that I'm about to buy. What's your thoughts? But ultimately, I'm the one that makes the decision and pulls the trigger on to buy it now or to bid.
Mm-hmm.
It's me. And it's what I like. I don't want to sound callous or anything, but I don't really care what you like. I respect it. I enjoy it, but it's your stuff.
Sorry, that was a thumbs up to Bob's comment. I didn't mean to squirrel. Sorry.
That's true too, Bob. But that's one of the only thing. Be yourself, do your thing. And I'm anxious to see what happens. And it's just a roller coaster ride. You ride it. You keep going. You roll with it. We don't know what Fanatics is going to do. We don't know if Panini's going to get sub-licenses for hockey. Is Upper Deck going to get a sub-license for basketball? Are we going to have everybody back in the mix when there's a billion products again? We don't know. Ride the wave and collect what you want, collect what you like, flip what you want, flip what you like. Do your thing. Just try not to be a goofball about it and affect other people negatively. Negatively. There we go. Just be righteous. Bill and Ted. Soapbox retract.
The influencing part, I've always said with, let's say we've all got an insert. We've all got some sort of set that I'm not going to say we we're hiding, because again, if it's been out for 20, 25 years, it's not being hidden. Maybe some folks just don't know about it. That's where I want to influence people. Be like, hey, when I say, and I've said it many a time, get a copy in your hand, even if it's a lesser player. Say it's a hockey player. Oh man, it's a Oleg Tverdovsky, it's a Shane Doan, it's somebody, Mike Dunham. Like, okay, I'll go look at that, because again, even if it's somebody like that, Keith Kachuk. If it's somebody like that, you can still move it if you don't like it. It's not going to be a middle reliever like Blake Parker or something. Like, oh man, I can't move that to save my life. But get that in hand, then make your choice. Make your decision, because again, when you have something in front of you, in your hand, a tangible good, you can make a decision about 100% better than looking at a screen of any sort. Because a lot of the stuff, it looks nice. Well, man, they got the good lighting. Get it in your hand. That's the only place I want to influence people, or I want to influence people to think for themselves. If you have to pay somebody to do your thinking for you, not the end of the show, but send that fucking money our way. And at least you'll get something worthwhile.
So, Dave, can I make one suggestion with your nomenclature?
Please,
because we as a whole, and I'm using we as a collective, and that's not just the three of us. I'm talking the collective as a whole. Those who have followed us since, even if it's been for 2 months, a year, it doesn't matter. The use of, I think what you're more getting at is you want to educate. You don't want to influence. You want to educate. Because at the end of the day, let's be realistic. We don't want to influence anybody, so to speak, because we don't want to be put in that realm of title, so to speak. Just wanted to throw that out there. I understand what you mean, and I think everybody else does too. But at the same time, we know that we're not here to influence anybody. We're here to provide guidance, suggestions, knowledge, education when it comes to certain things. First and foremost, we'll never be influencers, because guess what? We don't have the money. We don't have the funds. We don't have the backing. We don't have the sponsorships to where we can be showing off, $10,000 cards and stuff along those lines. It's not in our cards, unfortunately. But that's also not why we do it. We do it for the love and the enjoyment of the hobby. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And if I'm wrong with making that assumption or providing that suggested change to your nomenclature, I apologize. But I feel like I know you well enough to know that we all know what you're saying, but I was trying to avoid using the term as it pertains to us, because that is nothing
And I completely get it, but in the same breath, that's the only bad part of that term now. When you say influencer, you're thinking of somebody that's like, hey, go to my Discord. I want to go to Dallas this week. Give me $50. Give me $100 so I can go to the show. I'll get you some vlog footage. There'll be an unnamed thing at the end or whatever. Thank you, all, or maybe not even that. They won't even list the people. If Bob Lewis comes to us and says, hey, I saw you showed X. Can you send some pictures, maybe even like a 10-second video maybe of some refractor, let's say. Can you show me that? I want to just see, put it under like some light, get some good shine. That's where I picture myself being the influencing. If I can show somebody, again, with the knowledge, educate them, but also like, hey, there's a lot of wavelengths in the IRP with Carlos. We're all, I'm not going to say the same. I'd bet you a good 70% we're in agreement with a lot of card things that we enjoy. Designs, just anything going on. Die cut. We like this die cut over that one. Maybe there's one out there that's different. That we don't like it. Or somebody doesn't. It's like that's okay. But most of the time we seem to be ebbing and flowing relatively similarly. So if you come there and Bob's like, I don't know, I've been this one up. I've accumulated funds. I'm on the fence still. I know you've got this version of this player or whatever. Let me see like what your version is, and again see what the Randy Moss. I know what that looks like, but I want to see this. If I can influence him to buy it through those means, not, hey, I've got Luka cards. Oh, I got a horde of those rated rookies. Look at me. That's the card to get. If I were you, I'd buy that card up now as I'm selling them. As it's the He-Man character. The He-Man character, the Two-Face or whatever it is. Or Dick Tracy, one of the two. I think both of them. You have that. That's not what we're ever going to be about. Like my for sale videos, if you want to look and buy or throw out offers, fine. If not, they go back in warehouse 63H.
Yeah, by the way, I'm still waiting. I'm guessing you've already forgot. Yeah, of course you have.
I forget. I know you.
Dave, you know me. Anytime I have an opportunity to kind of give you a jab, you know I'm going to. Just throwing it out there.
That's a terrible term, too, jab.
I didn't say jabs.
I was going to say that's a degrading term, influencer.
I give a jab. There's a difference.
As soon as you give multiple jabs, we're done.
Yes. And it depends on how the night goes, because it depends on if you decide to open mouth and insert foot. I'm going to take it. I'm going to jump at the opportunity. I'm leaving this question up here because I want to circle back to it. I don't want us to lose sight of it. I'm not going to answer it yet, but so Ty, just to give you an idea. So Ed's been doing this longer than Dave and I have, if I'm not mistaken. Ed pumps out videos.
No, yeah, I don't think he does. I think he was 11.
Okay, but beside the point, that's timing is irrelevant. Ed puts out the videos.
Timing. Chicka, 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 chicka. Timing.
So from a YouTube channel perspective, putting out videos on a constant basis and being open-minded and touching multiple genres, you build a subscriber base. Ed's is he worked hard for those. Those came over years. Dave and I early on, I mean, we were moving up there. We probably would have never reached the 2000 plateau. Not that that's what we were trying to do by any stretch of the imagination. But it's one of those in which, whatever reason, the way and you also have to thank the algorithm sometimes. Hell, because I mean, what, Dave? You have the one short that you put out, whatever it was, that had like a ton of views on it for whatever reason. It was when you went to Target. That was you were looking for figures or whatever.
Oh, the AEW, yeah.
So, but it's probably your most viewed video outside of some of your rant videos, maybe. But sometimes the algorithm plays in your favor. Sometimes it plays against you. It ultimately dictates where you put your videos or associate the tags and everything else that brings people to your stuff. That's how stuff gets done. That's how you bring people to your channel.
Yeah.
I never bothered to dig into it because I really didn't give a shit at the end of the day. I know Dave doesn't give a shit at the end of the day, but people who put forth the effort consistently put out videos. And Dave, as you know, this is not a jab at you because there were a lot of times in which you put out constant stuff. But in your situation, for whatever reason, because the way you tagged your videos or the way that you didn't, the algorithm never helped you.
No.
Dave and I's growth in channels over the years back in those times were through interactions and conversations on Blog TV and other individuals that made videos. Sending stuff to people and people plugging your channel, which was not the intent. It's, hey, I want to send you something. But that's where a lot of some of that stuff comes from. But that's hard work. I mean, that's for years of hard work. That's how that kind of comes into play. But I wouldn't consider Ed an influencer. Maybe inadvertently, because he's been on the Soto train for a long time, as has Carlos for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But just because you talk about a certain thing, and you have a larger reach than others, typically you have to have an even bigger reach in order for it to really make a difference. So even though Ed has 2,000 subscribers, it's one of those of which I would venture to state that in certain small cases, he may have had some influence of other individuals wanting to buy Soto. But the hobby itself, the hobby, economy, as Carlos used to always call it, and other individuals with a much larger reach are those that ultimately pushed people to Soto. Probably that's my 2 cents. It's an educated guess. For all we know, somehow Ed may have inadvertently got it through to other individuals that have a larger reach, and they used Ed and Ed's information in order to push it forward. Because people always steal other people's ideas and topics and conversation points and everything else. But I digress. But I want to go back to this because I think it's an interesting question, and this can go a multitude of ways. But I'm actually going to give Soapbox Retract an opportunity to talk first on this question. That would be you, because I'm interested to hear his thoughts, and the reason for that is He's gone to more shows than most of us. Of course, he's going to tell me 1 minute and go away. I'm going to give him the freaking platform.
I can hear you. I just have to help see with something real quick. Right?
But you're not going to be able to respond since I'm putting you on the spot, since you're going to talk about this first.
I'm listening to you.
Go ahead and take care. You're not on mute though, so we can hear you. Just FYI. Vinny has gone to more shows. He's seen more interactions with people because we can't ask Ed. Ed's not here. I haven't been to a show. Dave, I know you've been to a small handful, so the amount of interactions would be minimal. So I'm interested to see. So Vinny, what are your thoughts on what Bob put out there? You're on mute.
So I was reading LA Pat's thing, and that's a solid thing what he just said. You know, if I'm a true collector, I'm not going to give people the game plan to go buy the stuff I want. Hey, everybody should go out and buy Mario Lemieux cards and drive Vinny to lose his mind. No, I'm not going to tell everybody what I'm hunting for until I have it. And even then, I might want 2. I possibly want 3. But 2022 is the year of no doubles per Steve. So we're trying not to do that. Now, let's figure out what Bob said, because I have no clue what Bob said because I was helping see the fractions. So what did Bob say there? His names who influenced their kid.
And that was LA Pat's response to said question.
Yeah. Okay. Fractions. Okay, fractions.
Excuses.
Hey, I don't get the better half running interference with this one tonight.
I know.
You need to go to bed.
Go do your homework. Go finish your homework. Go to bed.
Go study for your test.
I'm stealing Mom's spot where she would probably get really mad because I would steal her spot.
Study some more.
I did.
And then you got to go to bed in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bump it up.
Love you, C. Quit being a turd.
So, okay. Squirrel. Big blonde-headed squirrel.
Whole pack of them.
I don't have. They're be quiet. They're out there laying in the yard. They're actually being quiet, so I'm not knocking it. I don't know. It depends on what the. I don't know if the influencer doesn't call themselves an influencer. That would have start. That's a starting point. If their quote unquote content is there to help people, I would say the perfect example of someone I would say that would be a sort of influencer is that baseball collector, investor, dealer dude. I got no problem with that dude. He's a dealer. He's an investor. He PCs Cal Ripken Jr. He gives you information. He tells you about cards. He tells you stuff about things. And when he doesn't know, guess what he tells you? I don't know. He's honest. Woo! Picture that.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on, time out. I am sitting down, right?
Yes, you
Okay.
are.
I hope so.
Wow, what a concept. Honesty. Wow.
I think he's pretty solid. Now he's sponsored by I think Hoodies sponsors him, which is that it's a baseball card shop somewhere. And
Is that the one in Oregon?
It might be. I think I bought stuff from him.
Yep.
I got no problem with them. You know, they do consignment and stuff. Like I don't have problem with people having sponsors. It's what you bring in your videos, not your content, and what you want to do with it. I'm not here to give you 1,000 likes and support your stuff. Like Ed says, there's no hobby hierarchy. There's nobody bigger than me. We're all equal. But when you start going down that road's when there's problems. But now going to Paul's thing.
Another squirrel.
Yeah, a blonde one. Okay, see, going to shows, you know, I see people tell people things, and it's always with ultra modern. From what I see, this is going to go up, this is going to go down, this is that. Okay, that's all fine, but I've watched the landscape change. There was like the older, I would say the 60 to 80-year-old range, and yeah, there was gentlemen that old there. They are starting to dwindle out. One guy who had all kinds of Pops and McFarlane's and that kind of stuff, he said, I'm done. He did more of the Comic-Con stuff, but he was there with all his stuff. He said, I'm done. I'm moving to Boca Raton. So he moved to Florida. For the first time in 5 years, almost 6 years, because I started going to shows in 16 again, I didn't see the one guy that's always there with older wax and has newer wax. He wasn't there. So that kind of shocked me. 2 times ago, he was missing for 2 shows. A guy that had a mix of everything from older stuff to new stuff. He was gone, but he showed up last time. There are way more people carrying Pelican cases at shows than there were even 2 months ago. The last show I was out, it was wall-to-wall people that had little cases that were rolling around, going from dealer to dealer, trying to move stuff. So that's new. I don't know if they're being influenced by anybody.
I missed.
But it seems to be the new way of doing things that
Bum, bum, bum.
squirrel that way. Squirrel that way.
No, I am not the squirrel. No.
11 minutes. 11 minutes. This is your 11-minute warning.
11-minute warning. Go finish. Brush your teeth. How about that? So anyhow, I don't know if that's all been influenced by these influencers, the people that have all that nothing on their table is nothing but retail. You could tell there's no hobby stuff because hobbies, there's different pull. So what you see in their case is all from retail. So are they in the hobby now because they saw a video, or are they trying to be a dealer? What are they doing? I don't know. It's a lot different landscape than when I went to shows in the 90s and the early 2000s, and it was all dealers or a hobbyist setting up a table, trying to sell some stuff off to go buy other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the landscape changed. Is it because of YouTube and influencers? I don't know. But people know the lingo that you hear on those influential channels. You see people taking a chance. If you're a dealer, you're not going to take up a half a table. So what you have on your table is 28 to 30 cards. You know, that's somebody's small inventory that they started over the last X amount of months to a year. They don't have a warehouse, if you will, of stuff. They can't go in their basement and find 22 double shoes of cards to take to a show. They have this little bit of stuff, and I hate to say it, it's not their collection, it's their inventory. It's what they had from either busting or trading up or trading down. And I know the concept of trading is new and value boxes is new, but it's all there. But what I see as well is people don't know what's in certain boxes of older stuff that's not ultra modern. Okay, so there is a certain insert in a Topps hockey thing that's they put inserts from Series 1 and in inserts in Series 2. So the Series 2 inserts, they only printed about half of them as compared to Series 1. When you could find boxes on eBay that go for over $100 and you could find it at a show for $28 and people are like, just, oh, that old 90s stuff. What possibly could be in there? One of the rarest inserts that I haven't seen but once in 5 years. So it's a different group out there, I should say. Some people don't know anything but this little piece of the puzzle. And like LA Pat says, I'm kind of glad about it in a way, because then they're not touching the stuff that I know about. Because if somebody knew, they'd have bought those 3 boxes. I went and I said, I'll give you $25 a piece for the 2 of them. Okay. And I got boxes that go, because people on eBay know that those inserts are in there, or there's a chance, they charge $120. So it's just like me looking at football stuff at a show. There could be something that's you two would kill over, would love to have, I should say, not kill over. But you get my drift. It could be sitting there for $50. I have no clue. It could be something that's not Tom Brady's that everybody knows about. It could be something with a rare insert in there that nobody knows about or cares, because it's only worth $300. But one day, somebody might say, well, darn, they only printed 15 of those, and there's a chance to get one in there. For $50, you could quadruple your money. But I'm not in it for that, so it's hard to look at it that way. I'm trying to get the Lemieux insert that I can't find. And the only reason I didn't buy it the time I did, because they had no picture of it. And I wanted to see the condition. Because we know about condition with Vinny. We don't need another mirror red incident. Half the foil ripped off.
Sorry, I don't know if you've been reading the chat, but it's been quite humorous going between Carlos and Paul. You're now the soapbox influencer, courtesy of Carlos.
Thank you, Carlos. I've been living in a sinusitis haze for the last month and a half, so I'm a little slower than usual. I'm still not out of it. So,
but Paul has the Soapbox Extend tour shirt, since obviously Soapbox Influencers is like the sound of the name of a band back in the grunge era in Seattle. It was quite humorous.
We toured with Mookie Baylock and Days of the New and groups like that. I just basically stood there before the show and got everybody. I was what do they call a hype man? Yeah, that was me.
So Ty, just to give you some context, the whole 1099 thing, the difference is the amount of money is reduced substantially. For those out there who have like eBay stores and everything else, and that's their quote unquote business, nothing's really changed. The whole 1099 stuff has been there. the amount of money in which you have to pay taxes on is substantially reduced. That's the only change. That's the only difference. It's always been a thing. Now, you had to meet both qualifications back in the day. But, at some point, though, and I've said this before, people only carry so much cash. And if you're making $100,000 deals, most people don't have that kind of cash. So you're not going to walk up to somebody and be like, here's $100,000 in cash. That's not normally a thing. There is going to be some sort of transaction history that takes place. And I don't know about you, but most people don't send $100,000 as friends and family, like you're loaning somebody $100,000. Those are called red flags. And at some point, shit does catch up with people. These people are going to have to do stuff legitimately. Because if you have a business, you have to track your sales. You have to charge sales tax. Okay. You don't have to. By rule of thumb, you have to, but, that's left open for interpretation for a lot of people. And you still have to file your taxes for your business. And, it'll catch up to people. Just throwing that out there. But it is, I think the term changing the landscape is, or the dynamic, or changing the hobby. It's not going to change the hobby. People are still going to sell. And if I hate to say this, if people aren't going to do their research and realize that if you sell $600 and you're going to get a 1099, then that's on you, dumbass. Do your research. Educate yourself before you start sticking your toes into the, don't just jump in and thinking that all is great. And because rules the way that they were before don't apply. I don't feel sorry for somebody who doesn't realize that the rules have changed. I hate to say it. At least in the U.S. This is U.S. specific.
Oh, Paul, that's a good one too.
Up in Canada, it doesn't matter. So, just throwing that out there.
Paul makes an interesting point. I forget who said that, Paul, in one of the influential people out there. They said that, once you put it in a card, you buy the card, you sell the card, now the money's clean, quote unquote. But I remember somebody mentioning that in a video, and I'm like, oh, that's a hot little topic there, and one that I don't like to go down, but it is a possibility.
Everybody has said it for years. The what is it? The 90. Is it the 90 Fleer? Jose Uribe?
Yeah.
Is it the 90 Fleer?
I think it's 90 Fleer.
Yep.
And, selling for what it did. And it's like, people are always going to find ways to cheat the system, do stuff that shouldn't be done. People are going to get creative. Quote unquote, potentially, laundering money through cardboard is no different than doing it like via art or any other sort of quote unquote legit transaction. It's a thing. It's always a possibility. You don't want to make accusations by any stretch of the imagination, but is it an actual possibility? Without a doubt. You're talking tons of money, man. Tons of money between, Golden and PWCC, I'm not going to include Probstein in that because he does all his stuff on eBay. But PWCC, now that they're off of eBay, they're on their own platform. Golden Heritage Auctions, some of the bigger auction houses. That's some big money changing hands. Some big money, and it's always a possibility. You just don't know. So, and I'll leave it at that. But it's always a possibility.
Paul,
Always.
Oh, sorry, sir.
You're good. Go.
That was Chris Gaines, I believe, Paul. And Death Metal Polka was big in Cleveland. We were big in Cleveland. We sold like 46 albums.
I thought that was Wisconsin.
I forget what it was. All I know is that's from the great late John Candy from Home Alone, I believe.
Sheboygan.
Sheboygan.
We were big in Sheboygan.
Yeah. God, that's one guy I missed. He was hysterical. But I digressed. But I always remembered, I don't like Home Alone, but that was the best part of Home Alone was John Candy. Because, polka, polka, polka. Anything? Oh, look at him. Perfect timing. Look who it is. A leprechaun that eats out of pots. A guy that smokes. And a guy that takes grief from his wife. And there she is.
I can always put her in timeout.
No, don't do that. She comes home Thursday. I don't want to be in timeout.
So she could only be mad at me because you don't have the ability to do it. Only Dave and I do.
Yeah, but I'll catch the flack. Understood? Comprende?
Capiche?
Capiche?
Capicola or whatever.
Gabagool. Mozzarella.
Ay.
No, for mine, it's the same thing we preach. You just want to see transparency. You don't want to. I don't care if you're sponsored by somebody either, but at the same time, you're sponsored by eBay all the time. It's like, yeah. Of course you're going to be like pimping them out. You're not going to be pimping, again, going back quite a few years, you're not going to be pimping out Yahoo Auctions or Bidville. You're going to be fucking pumping eBay. So, but then again, you see it in every aspect and every facet in life. Bending the truth, or at least believing whatever you say is the truth, is a lot of what the most influential people, rightly so or not, seem to do. Politicians, actors, actresses, anyone of that ilk. Like, well, no, that's not what I did. Well, then you get 50 people saying, well, yeah, you did sexually assault folks. Well, no, that's not what I did. Well, no, it is. You have the laundry list. So bending the truth to fit your narrative. Saying you don't know. That'd be like if I bought, let's say, a box of 0304 Topps Pristine Hockey, and I got a gold refractor of Mario Lemieux. I say, well, this is a nice card. I wish I knew a Lemieux collector that could use this. Well, you're an absolute fucking cunt if you do that, and you know somebody that collects Lemieux, or your example is some schlub dipshit who just started collecting Lemieux. Not somebody that's collected him for 3 decades. When you're not true to yourself, why in the fuck would anybody want to believe you in any other words you say? And to publicly say stuff like, put that out there, it's like, okay, those are the people you just would wish would wash away down in the drain with the boat, with young Georgie, because they all float down there. And hopefully they'd float to the bottom of the earth, which is the center of the earth, theoretically. Because in my hobby landscape, people like that offer no value, no matter what they say, no matter what insights they have, no matter how nice they are, whatever the fact of the matter may be in other folks' eyes. If you can't be transparent in your verbiage, in your nomenclature, when you have your quote box extending and retracting, it becomes detrimental not only to the community, but to that person. Because guess what? You tell one lie, now you tell two. Now you start believing the first lie, then you tell a third, you start believing the second lie. It's like an avalanche. The transparency goes away quickly. The ability to be trusted absolutely evaporates within a snap of the fingers. And why would you support anyone, even on the lowest, or I'd say lower than the lowest rung? At least the lowest rung has some value, but lower than the lowest doesn't. Or these people that have the oodles of subscribers. Why would you invest in those folks who show over and over again, like our good friends Nelly and Tim McGraw, that they don't care about anybody but themselves? They're literally the Hulk Hogan of the 80s and 90s, where they're going to put themselves over at any cost to make sure they're on the marquee. Why would you put your money, put your time, put your faith, and put your trust in shitbags like that? Because somebody else, maybe in your friend line, says, hey, I like these guys. There again, go back to what Vinny had said. If you're going to influence somebody, look in the mirror. If you don't have kids, like Robert had mentioned, look in the mirror. Say, would that be something I'd want to say? Would that be something I would say? You don't have to be Stuart Smalley. But as I said before, when I talked to my daughter about playing basketball, if you're not true to yourself, your beliefs, your values, to think for yourself, to analyze situations for yourself, why would anybody else buy into you if you don't buy into yourself? Soapbox. Self-destruct.
Getting deep, Dave. Getting deep.
Well, it's usually deep in the IRP, so.
This is true. No,
But it's true. It is true.
Good points, though. Everybody had good points, though. And thank you, Bob, for posing the question. We actually touched on the topic and had an opportunity to take a pretty thought-provoking question. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
I'd like wax to be cheaper.
I'd like if Panini came back and did hockey.
I would too.
Let's not open that door.
Let's not open Pandora's box.
No.
Yes, let's not. I will say though, it would be nice for hobby prices to kind of go back to more of a norm. Honestly.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't, because let's be realistic, these manufacturers are increasing MSRP on retail, on some retail stuff. We all kind of had a feeling that was going to be a thing. If I'm not mistaken, I think Carlos mentioned it quite some time ago that was going to be one of the first things that we would probably see is an uptick in pricing. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they take advantage of it? So pricing on the retail side, you know, it is what it is. If you think about, you know, economics 101, it was only going to be a matter of time anyways. Let's be realistic. If you put things in perspective, from a product perspective, it would be nice for hobby to kind of go back to what the price points kind of used to be. You know, your low end was still $100. Your mid end was $200 to $250, $300. Your high end $400 and $500, but none of this, you know, $5,000 a box crap. And I'm not, and I don't mean flawless or, you know, anything along those lines, because even when flawless first came out, it was still high as shit. But and then on the retail side would be the availability. The nice thing is we're starting to see some, from what I've seen, at least in the YouTube world, you're starting to see more product being a little bit more readily available in certain places. I know that's not the same across the board. But, you know, it's one of those in which as things kind of start, the embers, you know, we're not on full in fire mode. It's more along the lines of we're starting to see, you know, embers, hot embers, as it's starting to kind of cool a little bit. Hell, certified used to be $100 where I was. Sometimes I could get a little under $100. But you know, availability on the retail side, readily available product on the retail side, to where, you know, if you want football, you have options for football. You don't just have the leftovers that people don't freaking want. Yeah, LA Pats. Carlos actually did a video on that. I saw it pop up in my YouTube earlier that Beckett actually finally said something. Finally, but more obtainable prices in the hobby world, and then, you know, retail just being more readily available. And that helps everybody. For those who like to bust wax, whether it be for the enjoyment of busting wax, sitting on wax, opening wax, and selling what you pull. I've said it before. I did it for a long time. But I did it in some of the worst years, because if you didn't pull something big, typically you lost your ass. That was just, you know, what happened. Nowadays, if you're willing to to pay the price and you get lucky, you at least do a little bit better financially. or can do a little bit better financially in those situations. It's still high risk, high reward. But, outside of that, from a hobby landscape perspective, I don't get involved with all the drama, the bullshit. I have my opinions. I'll express my opinions in conversations, but most of that shit I could give two craps about. It doesn't, quote unquote, influence me one way or the other. But that's the only other thing that I wanted to kind of throw out there from a what the perfect hobby landscape would be. Returning back to normal. I hate using that term, but what is normal these days? That's left open for interpretation. But I'd like to see some things kind of somewhat return to normalcy from a pricing perspective when it comes to wax and the availability.
But as Carlos said up there, we have the chance to defeat that monster. And the good news from the card show front is I see the same dealers with the same wax that they always have sitting there, and it's not moving. And they're getting other wax on top of it, and it's not moving. Then I went over to Supply Guy, and he had blasters, and they were less than MSRP. I'm like, how does this happen? They were $5 less. If they were something I wanted, I'd have probably bought them. But I've been itching for football. Even though I'm not a big football collector, I haven't opened any football. I was able to get a blaster basketball that I want to open when I go to see my brother, because he hasn't opened basketball in 20 years. So I wanted to have a basketball box, but I have no football. I found some baseball, and I found a guy with a bunch of old packs: Pinnacle, Parkhurst, hockey, Tops baseball, Select baseball, and they were 50 cents a pack. So I bought a bunch of those. Why not? Just something to go down that old road. When I see that kind of stuff,
the nostalgia. Yep.
yeah, I that's worth it for me, just to sit there with him. I want to sit there, him, me, and my kid, and open as much wax as I can get my hands on in the next, the 5 to 6 months. And it hasn't been a lot because it's been hard to find, but I scour the shows, I scour the web, getting good like Dave. I scour the web, still not even in the same universe as Dave is scouring that web, but I scour to find stuff. Might not be the most popular stuff, but it's something to open. And what's going to be funny is he's going to say, well, how many packs are in there? 3. What do you mean there's 3? How many cards per pack? 15, 20? 4. What? Because, for having, when he was in the whole thing, and he was in there up till probably 2003, 4. He was in there longer than I was, because he was still collecting all his Nolan Ryans. And, it's going to be funny seeing how the packs have changed. And it's going to be interesting, because I tell him stuff and he looks at me like, huh? What do you mean? Now, the card design, like he said, there's some cool stuff and the new stuff, but it's a whole different world. And every time I tell him, well, Topps doesn't make basketball anymore. What do you mean? Well, Upper Deck's the only one that can make hockey. Huh? And he lost all that because he went dark, and then all this stuff happened over 17 years from 05 on that he never kept up with. So it's gonna be cool. And I'm gonna enjoy it. I don't know if he'll let me videotape it or not. since he's the original recluse, much like his brother, up until the IRP.
Blame us. Jeez.
No,
It's all our fault.
I thank you, not the other way around. So we were sponsored by Yingling tonight. I don't think that was said.
It was
And whatever was in this black cup.
Mountain Dew.
And cherry Pepsi, I think. I don't remember the sponsor. I must have took my headset off to help see. Sorry.
Could have been. Dave actually tried to do some interesting finagling, and as he says it, I had already put the beer down, so of course I had to pick it back up. The timing was a little off, but I didn't have advance warning. But
I was making sure she knew her fractions.
hey, priorities. We always talk about it.
Yeah, I had to make sure she's ready for that test tomorrow as best she could be. So
there you go. Dave, any other final thoughts before we put a bow on it?
The last thing I'll say for the topic and the show, I'd say get back to more of a community feel. I know that will never happen because once you start getting money, and it's almost like an arms race with all these quote unquote bigger channels. Once you have the money involved, everything changes. And it sucks because then you lose the organic growth of the community. You lose the overlap of a blog TV type situation where you've got particular groups. Some were cliques. At the same time, you could hang out in there, and if you acted mostly sane, you're good. You act like a dick, you got dealt with.
Good old band hammer.
Yeah, I mean, you want to sit there and chirp, it's like, okay, get the one warning sometimes, and if not, you get kicked. And you wouldn't have so many breakers. You didn't. Everybody and their fucking mother, their neighbor, their accountant, their shoe shiner, their grandmother, the Parcheesi partner, the bowling league manager, everybody fucking breaks and nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. If you can't pronounce somebody's name and you're breaking multiple things in said product and your name isn't Chris Justice, fuck off. I mean, I don't want to hear somebody say Dmitry Yushkevich and butcher it like they're talking in a Croatian, Yugoslavian, something like that. It's like, no, hold on now. You spend 5 minutes on pronouncing the dude's name, and it's not even a card worth pronouncing. It's a base card. And know your nomenclature. Not everything's a hollow.
Or a refractor.
EX did not make refractors, you fucking idiots. I hope you hang by your anus. You dumbass fucks. God, it's just unreal that people are that stupid, but that's what happens in inbreeding. Is that a refractor?
Hollow FX.
Oh, it's a refractor card. Cool.
Yeah, it says so on the back.
It's a silver.
It's a silver. Rainbow.
Yeah. Just intelligence and folks, you don't have to care about everyone, but you have to care what you put out there. Like I go back to what I said. If you don't believe in what you're putting out there, and you're looking yourself in the mirror, you're doing a detriment to everyone involved. So, that's it. I'd love, like I said, a sense of community where it actually meant something. I know it does with us. A lot of us here, a lot of us that aren't watching right now live or whatever. The folks we've had on here, folks that populate the chat. When you send care packages, just because packages to them, it means something. Some of these douchebags who have like mail day Fridays or whatever, and you'll get your name out there. No, no. Those people don't give a shit about you. They never will. They won't remember your name. They won't certainly remember the cards. So the actual sense of community, and then having some sort of knowledge, just not being a dipshit. That should have been swallowed many times over.
Another valid point. I don't disagree with that.
I think that's it. We've done what we need to do.
The NFTs is a whole nother episode.
No, it will not be. That will never be an episode. We will not. No, so sorry.
No, we went over that one about a year ago, I think, or a little under a year ago in the late March, early April. And we spent their 10, 15 minutes on it. That's enough.
Yep.
They were nerfed, not for IRP.
Yeah. Well, thank everybody for jumping in, contributing, throwing a few questions, comments that we were able to run with. It's always fun to get some traction, some mileage out of a topic. You're like, we can get 15, 20 minutes out of it. I'll be happy when you get over an hour out of it. It's always good. Always good, but I said thank you for joining, thank you for watching the archive. Comment something you want us to expound upon, we can certainly do so.
Provide show topics. We're always looking for other things to talk about. Just throwing that out there as an option too. All of you know how to get in touch with us.
Yeah, if there's something you want us to talk about that has some relevancy to anything we usually talk about, which that's a wide range, don't hesitate. I know Eric at some point I think will want me to discuss what foot products I use. Is that maybe a demonstration, a standalone video on my channel that I might have to DM him that I know that'll excite him beyond the words. So remember, like, comment, subscribe. Send us money via OnlyFans, Patreon, Discord, Cash App, Venmo, crypto wallet. Oh, believe me, it'll be like Air Force One's reveal.
Just title it hockey cards.
I'll have corny hockey cards, and I'll put cards between my toes. Yeah, he'll be so conflicted whether to puke or whether to be like excited to see actual hockey cards. That may send him into a frenzy of spontaneous combustion, one of which we have never seen. Send us money, like I said, onion bags, potato sacks, whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
Food gift certificates, we take those too.
Chick-fil-A.
EBT, whatever, your food stamps will take that. Food's food. Take whatever you take. You take whatever you give. Except Monopoly money. I don't want that. Or wooden nickels. You can shove them up your assholes. So, for Steve, for Vinny, I'm Dave. This has been the Interrevolution Podcast. Remember, collecting cards, whatever we collect, absolutely amazing. The friendships we forge while we build our collections, that's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.